Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Joanna Brennan, and I've been a video instructor for BJU Press for a little over 2 years now. I did spend over 20 years teaching in a classroom before my family made the move from Michigan here to Greenville. And I love the opportunity to teach homeschoolers. And I'm amazed every day that God has given me the opportunity to spend my entire day talking about elementary math because I absolutely love it. Everyone needs strong math fundamentals. It doesn't matter what you think your child might do in life, math is a necessity. And so we need to find ways to build those skills. Hands-on learning and opportunities to apply math to the real world will help students be more motivated and get excited about math. It'll help them see the purpose in what they're learning. And when we know that there is a purpose to what we're learning, it's easier to get excited about what we're learning. And when we're excited about what we're learning, it's easier to learn that information. So math can't just be facts and equations that we follow to solve. Today I want to share a few ideas for helping you give your child the opportunity to learn or practice those math skills in everyday life. Many of these things are obvious and things that you probably already do with your children, but I just want to mention them because they are math skills. If you have any questions, feel free to add them to the thread, and I will do my best to answer them when I'm done with this presentation. We can start with our children learning math when they're just toddlers. We can have them count things. How many strawberries do you have on your plate? We ask them to sort blocks by color or size. Have them create patterns with blocks. Blue square, red triangle, blue square, red triangle. Kids love to sort little candies. I mean, who doesn't? We can ask them to solve simple addition and subtraction. You have 3 cars. Oh, here's one more. How many do you have? Rhymes and songs are excellent tools because they are repetitive and easy to remember. Many nursery rhymes are counting rhymes. 1, 2, buckle my shoe. 3, 4, shut the door. 5, 6, pick up sticks. 7, 8, lay them straight. 9, 10, big fat hen. That's one from my childhood. Young children can learn to count and tell which numbers come before or after just through those rhymes. If toddlers are already learning about seasons, you could introduce seasonal activities. Maybe in the spring, you can take them to a garden and have them pick flowers and count how many flowers they have. The leaves, yellow and the red in the fall. So kids have them pick them and count the fallen leaves and separate them by color. Ask them which color pile has the most or which has the least. Toddlers should work on learning their shapes. Put small figures in a big bowl and ask the kids to pick out similar shapes and place them on a table. You could sneak in a counting lesson here too by asking children how many triangles they have or how many circles they have and so forth. This activity will help children recognize the shapes and sort items based on their shared properties. Is your child a Play-Doh lover? Now, I know many moms hate mess, and I was definitely one of those moms, but you could use modeling dough to help your child learn the geometric shapes and work on number formation. Kids can create triangles, squares, and circles using the dough and maybe a little plastic knife to cut out the forms. Molding numbers will help your toddler memorize the digits 0 through 9 and improve accuracy of writing numbers on paper. Another favorite for a toddler when it comes to learning number formation is whip topping on a baking sheet. And when I taught kindergarten, we would use shaving cream on their desk. It's a lot of fun and it's a good way to practice writing. As children get a little older, we can begin to introduce them to more real-life learning. One of my favorite childhood memories is when my mom would let me bake with her. She would pull a chair up to the counter for me to stand on, and then she'd have me measure the ingredients. She would tell me, oh, we need a cup of sugar, and she would hand me the 1/4 measuring cup. She would say, how many 1/4 do you need to make 1 cup? I know that my understanding and love of fractions was born out of those times spent in the kitchen. Another favorite from my early elementary years is jump rope. I would count while jumping rope, and I would keep a record of how many jumps that I could do. That's also a great way to practice skip counting. Have them jump while counting by 2 or by 3 or whatever skip counting that you're working on. And boys can jump too. Some of my best jumpers when I was teaching in the classroom were my boys. Movement improves memory. Whether it's doing jumping jacks or clapping your hands or jumping a rope, however you can find a way to move, movement aids memory. One of my favorite things to play with when I was in elementary school was my dad's stopwatch. Now, what math did that teach me? I learned a lot about time, and it also taught me that my first lesson in decimals. My uncle was a track coach at a high school, and so my brothers and I developed an interest in track and field events. We would use my dad's stopwatch to time ourselves to see how fast we could run around the outside of our house. Now, the great thing about that stopwatch was that it kept time to the 100th of a second. See, decimals. I learned to read decimals and compare decimals by playing with that stopwatch. I learned to order decimals as I figured out whose time placed them in first, second, or third place. I also learned a bit about fractions from that same track and field obsession. My dad built us a high jump. It was complete with an old mattress and couch cushions so that we didn't hurt ourselves as we tried to jump as high as we could. And it was set up with 2 1x1s that stood upright on bases, and then there were little nails at every 1/4 inch up all of the 1x1s. And we used an old bike flag for that bar that we would jump over. Now, as I moved that bike flag up and down those nails, I learned to add and subtract by 1/4 inch increments. Another tool that helps teach fractions is a measuring tape. Kids enjoy measuring things, especially if they have a nice long measuring tape. I remember using my dad's 100-foot measuring tape to measure the distances from one tree to another in our backyard. Another type of measurement that kids learn in real life is temperature. You could have your child measure the temperature every day and then just record it on the calendar. How about the measurement of time? One of the most difficult things for many children is figuring out elapsed time. So find ways to talk about time in your day-to-day schedule. For example, dinner's going to be ready in 1 hour and 15 minutes. What time will it be then? Or phrase it the other way. We're going to eat lunch at 12 o'clock. How many more minutes until lunch? I love to find ways to help kids practice time management skills. They're going to learn how to tell time on the clock and manage their assignments better. Time management includes not only telling time, but it's skip counting by 5, counting to 60, concepts like half past, quarter to, as well as logic, reasoning, and planning skills. Something that I've noticed that kids struggle with more now than they did, say, 30 years ago is counting money. And I think that's probably because the use of credit and debit cards has kind of taken over now, and we just pay for things by using our phones even. So kids don't handle money like they did years ago. However, I do still think that there is a case to be made for working on counting money and finding change. A simple way to begin is just hand them a little pile of change and ask them to count it. I think it's fun to give them an amount, say 67 cents, and have them see how many different ways they can use coins to equal that amount of cents. My kids love to play store. They got to be the cashier, I was the customer, and they had to find the total of my purchases and then figure out how much change that they needed to give me. Another idea is to try to connect math to other subjects. During spelling, have them write a fraction to represent the number of letters in the word that are vowels. So for the word strength, they would write 1/8. Only one of the 8 letters is a vowel. And then have them write a fraction for the consonants. The consonants in strength would be 7/8. So the vowel fraction plus the consonant fraction equals the whole word. Upper elementary students are ready to apply math in some other fun ways, such as finding cost per unit of a variety of items in the grocery store sales circular. For example, a 16-ounce can of corn might cost 86 cents. So you ask your child to find the cost per ounce. When your child goes shopping with you, have them keep a running estimate of the total cost of your purchases. Along the same line, have your child do a virtual shopping spree. Have them calculate the discount amounts and sales tax on merchandise while staying within an assigned budget. If your child doesn't feel confident about percentages, introduce them to online shopping sites. Online shopping is a great way to learn percentages due to the limitless percentage discounts found there. Their favorite shoes cost $100. How much can they save using a 20% sign-in discount? These incentives will motivate young minds to become very fluent in percentages. Something else that many upper elementary or junior high students might enjoy is applying math to their sport or their hobby. And this helps the age-old question, when am I ever going to use this? Have them write down their hobby and then think of 3 ways that math is related or involved in that sport or hobby. Let's say they write down football. At the 40-yard line, a team is penalized 10 yards. That's applying math. When will the team begin the next down? Maybe a child says that their hobby is sewing. Well, in sewing, we use fractions to measure the seam allowance so that the seams are even. There are a lot of possibilities for using math in sports and hobbies. Another way to use sports is to have your child track the scores of their favorite team and then calculate the mean, median, and mode for the season. I love elementary math. I want kids to be thinking, oh, I could do this. That's not hard. I am passionate about children learning to think and problem solve. That's what we all want for our kids, right? We want them to be able to know how to reason and have wisdom to make right choices. When I was a classroom teacher, I would often hear parents say things like, oh, my child just wasn't born with a math brain. No, brains are always changing and shaping and developing and making connections. Oftentimes, if we feel inadequate or overwhelmed by the subject matter, we kind of pass that on to our children. So we need to be able to teach them math with confidence. And I know that BJU Press math materials are laid out in such a way that you can do that. To encourage your child to be a thinker, show them that there's more than one way to solve a problem. One of my favorite things about BJU Press math textbooks and the thinking strategies that we cover. I love the thinking strategies. Not every strategy works with every student. So showing them multiple strategies allows them the opportunity to find what works best for them. And it also helps them realize that There are many ways to solve a problem. Also, we need to give kids a chance to explain their thinking. We don't want kids to be in the mindset of just making sure their answer is correct. Ask them, how can you know if your answer is reasonable? See, math isn't just memorizing. Finally, struggle is not a bad thing. It's good for your brain to struggle and get a really good workout. Now, obviously, I don't want your student to feel overwhelmed or defeated, but it's good to get some of these richer, real-world problems that are tougher than solving equations on a worksheet. Also, I truly think we need to celebrate mistakes by turning them into learning opportunities. Let your child know it's perfectly fine to make mistakes. Nobody gets all of the answers all of the time. Keeping the learning of math a part of everyday life will help build confidence, which builds a love of learning.